Hey, what's up everybody? It's Rutech, and today we're talking about the confirmed specs of the upcoming console, the PlayStation 5, which is coming out holidays of 2020, so expect a release of December. But anyway, before we get straight into the video talking about all the confirmed specs and other details about this console, I'd really appreciate it if you checked out my channel, just took a look at what I upload, see what I have to offer, and maybe subscribe, as it really helps out the channel. Also remember, if you enjoy the video, drop a like, and if you have any comments or questions, drop some comments below. But anyway, let's get straight into the video, talking about some of the confirmed specs about this console. So for the CPU, it's using an AMD chip based on the Ryzen architecture. It has 7nm transistors with 8 cores, and it has the Zen 2 architecture. And if you're not too sure what architecture that is, it's pretty much the architecture that the Ryzen 3000 series uses. So for example, that would be the Ryzen 5 3600. So pretty much that means this will be an extremely fast processor. I mean, it's already no surprise that this console will be very, very fast and snappy, but the fact that we're having a Zen 2 architecture CPU is also amazing to just know and have confirmed. Next up, the audio. So the PlayStation 5 apparently will have something called 3D audio that one of the developers of the PS5, Mark Cerny, believes will be dramatically different to the PS4 audio. So it's pretty interesting how they're modifying how the audio works to make it probably seem more immersive, make it seem like you're actually in wherever you are in the virtual world. So some very interesting stuff there, and I'm actually pretty excited to see what they're doing to the audio to make it have this cool effect that Mark Cerny believes will be dramatically different to PS4 audio. So now for resolution support, the PS5 will have up to 8K support, which means it'll probably include full 4K, which means your games that you're playing will be able to be rendered in full 4K resolution. Now the 8K support is probably only for streaming services, so like Netflix in 8K or Disney Plus, watching your movies in 8K. That's probably what the 8K is for, but that doesn't mean that your games will be in 8K. 8K is very, very demanding, so I'm not too sure that this console will even be able to handle any good games in normal 8K. But either way, it has 8K support for the movies that you want to watch in that resolution. Next up, the storage. So the PS5 will have a SSD, no more hard drives. We're out of the hard drive phase. It is 2020, so we're using solid state drives. So Sony says that this SSD that they're using uses the new PCIe 4.0 connection. Now pretty much what this means is it'll be a very fast data transfer between the storage and the CPU and GPU. So you can expect extremely fast loading times for bigger maps. A good example of this would be what Mark Cerny talked about. He gave the example of a 0.8 second loading time compared to the 15 seconds when he was testing Marvel's Spider-Man. So pretty much on the PS4, it took 15 seconds to load the Spider-Man map, while on the PS5, it took less than a second, 0.8. That is completely amazing. Now, Digital Foundry believes that this could mean that it uses GDDR6 at 448 gigabytes per second. 448 gigabytes per second is literally amazing. I mean, in my mind, that seems unrealistic, but they say that it is possible. So not confirming that that is the data transfer speed, but that is completely possible, which is completely mind-blowing. Finally, the part you were probably waiting for, the GPU. So the PS5 is using a custom AMD Navi GPU. So Navi is pretty much the architecture for the next line of AMD GPUs, which are coming out later in 2020. So you can probably expect a release of Navi GPUs in July-ish, and that'll give you some perspective on what the next PS5 GPU will be like. So this GPU apparently could run at 2000 megahertz, which is an insane clock speed. For a point of reference, my RX 580 in my PC runs at roughly 1400 megahertz. So that is a total of 600 megahertz of difference between a 580, which is roughly the same performance as a PS4, by the way, and the next GPU that'll be in the PS5. So a huge difference. They're gonna probably need some crazy cooling methods to cool the 2000 megahertz clock speed GPU that's gonna be put in the PS5. So of course, this GPU will support ray tracing at real time, and it's coming to pretty much every new GPU that is coming out nowadays. So yeah, if you're into cool reflections, awesome lighting, more realistic looking games, you're gonna love the PS5. By the way, before I move on, you can probably expect very similar specs on the Xbox One Series X, I believe it's called, which is coming out alongside this from Microsoft. But because there are more confirmed things about the PS5, I went and talked about this instead. But either way, the Xbox One Series X will most likely have very similar specs. So now on to some other details. PS5 will have backwards compatibility, so if you're worried that you won't be able to run your older games on your PS4 on your new PS5, there's no need to worry. You'll be able to play all of them perfectly fine and probably at a more stable frame rate and maybe resolution if developers decide to integrate that into their games. Additionally, discs will still be a thing, so if you're worrying that you won't be able to walk into Walmart or GameStop to go grab your next PS5 game, there's no need to worry. They will still fully support non-digital copies of games. Also, another cool detail is that game installations will apparently be more configurable because of how all games are going to be running on SSDs now. Because of how on hard drives they'd have to duplicate parts of the game to make a standard 5400 RPM read faster. Pretty interesting stuff there. So now that they're using an SSD, they won't have to have any duplicate files, which will allow for games to have smaller sizes. Now, Wired commented that developers will either use this to make their game sizes smaller or use that extra bit of space that they have to integrate more high-res textures into their games or other things that will take up storage. Also, another thing, because they're using SSDs, is because of how SSDs work, players will be able to delete a single-player campaign without removing a multiplayer if developers provide the support, which will also allow for more configurable sizes for your game. So if you only want to play, for example, the multiplayer of a certain game and don't care for the campaign, or you already played it and want to delete it, you can do that if developers integrate that into their game because of how the new SSDs work in the next generation consoles. Last but not least, the PS5 will have VR support. This shouldn't come as a surprise to anyone as there was VR support for the PS4 and it did pretty well. We're not sure how good the VR will be in the PS5, but we can assume that it'll be pretty good as the GPU and CPU in this next console will be extremely strong, and there are a lot of VR games that are coming out nowadays. So yeah, that's going to do for this video, guys. If you like the content you're seeing, please drop a sub, really helps out the channel. If you like the video, drop a like. And if you have any comments or questions, drop a comment below and I'll try to get to it as soon as I possibly can. Thanks for watching. Peace out.